Karibuni, welcome tuelimishwe kwa masuala ya jamii, tutumbuizwe sana mbalimbali, tujuzwe juu ya matukio ya kila pembe, kwa burudani kwa familia nzima. ArtinHeart.
Good evening. My apologies for that. Welcome to the Saturday Family Edition. My name is Likuyani Eli, and more than happy to bring you this edition of What Are You Bringing on the Table or to the Table. Remember, we had the first discussion last week, and tonight we're shifting more gears, engaging more men in this discussion. And above all, we are asking you, are you going in for parasitic benefits, or is this symbiotic kind of relationship? To help me out, I have one and only Coach Collins, who is going to tell me his credentials and exactly why he's here and what he's looking forward to. Mr. Collins Bolo. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Eli Lukuyani. Thanks a lot. And I'm very happy to be in this family edition today.
So even as we get that, can you kindly let our viewers know who you are and what you do, and then, get it started?
Thank you very much. As you have heard, I'm Coach Collins Bolo from Kenya, based in Mombasa. There are several things which I do. One, I'm a leadership and a relationship coach. That's one of the areas which I'm so much involved. Apart from that, I'm an expert in a field called psychometrics within the field of psychology. So basically what I do a lot of scientific assessment on people to understand the speed of their brain, the level of their intelligence. Are they vocational people? Are they university material? Are they college material? I assess people's personality to know and to understand why they behave the way they do behave and which career they are wired for and they can do naturally to succeed and in their life. Also, I'm a certified mediator. I do mediation through the judiciary, especially on child custody. I'm so much in contact with the FIDA Kenya, and also I'm a certified grief and loss therapist, apart from being a professional speaker. And I really appreciate so much for being in this forum. And when I'm not doing all that, I'm also a clergy.
Wow, I don't know how to introduce myself because clearly, as you said, you have to assess our abilities. And tonight, our ability is trying to focus on what are you bringing to the table. In this case, I am the table. My name is Likuyani, and welcome to the Family Edition. So, Collins, first things first. People walk into relationships and they want it all. They are foreseeing a very happy ending, a Cinderella kind of life, probably with a Prince Charming. But what are the questions we have to ask before we even dream about this, Collins?
Thank you, Likuyani. It's really interesting that some of the things which are very natural become so complicated as we continue to grow. Let me take you back as young as we were in the nursery level, kindergarten. We were relating so natural among ourselves as boys and girls. Those walls and barriers of tribe, economical standards, and everything did not exist. And you realize from that initial stage of life, when you are growing up, relating one to the other and connecting one group of people to the other was a very natural thing, as natural as breathing in and out, in which you cannot do it perfectly if you are sick. Unfortunately, as we grow, we start learning new things from our parents, from our environments, which start making us to put some shield towards other people and also developing some expectations which others are very hypothetical as far as relationship is concerned. With many changes taking place in our community today, that's where the big question is coming in. What are you bringing on the table? That one means we have to go back to the drawing board to understand where are we coming from as far as relationships are concerned, where are we at this particular point, and where are we heading to as far as relationships are concerned. That's very key. Meaning it was once very natural, but now it's a complex thing. Why is it so complex?
I'm wondering,
Very
and I
key.
want to find out why is it becoming complex to really have people settle on what they want in relationships. Follow the conversation with the hashtag Family Edition ArtinHeart. And remember, you can say in your name and where you're watching us from. I can quickly recognize Makomere, who says he's tuned in. Kipro Road, ArtinHeart Family Edition. Good evening to you too. We have Jakita, who says ArtinHeart tuned in. Karibu sana. I'm bringing EBA and egusi soup on the table. And we have Makomere, who equally says, welcome, Coach Bolo. So you are equally welcome to be part of the conversation. And Noreen tells me, tuned. That is the family of ArtinHeart. Thank you so much. So things are becoming more complicated. We cannot even know what we are bringing on the table. Why is this a problem, Coach? Is it how we've been raised? Is it our expectations again?
Okay, one of the things which is making it to be a problem in our systems of education, you realize that we are being trained to become expert in understanding our environments. One, and two, we are being taught to understand things happening around us so that by being qualified to understand all these things, then it's assumed we are going to be expert even as far as life issues are concerned. So I can become an expert in understanding historical events, understanding the geography around me, understanding how I can calculate mathematics, understanding how to express myself in foreign language, even overlooking my own native language. Now, upon all these qualifications, which our system of education have been geared to fine tune us so that we can behave in a manner which was laid by our colonialists, we end up becoming expert in our professions but poor human relationship. That's one of the biggest root of our problem. And in most of the forums I've been lecturing psychology and I've been talking about relationship, you realize a simple question like, who are you as a person becomes a very complex thing for us to answer, but we can be able to answer everything around us. And then we are academic and academias because of that. So the more you understand everything around you, and the more you understand every language around you, and you understand any other thing apart from you, people give you all respect and honor. By the end of the day, you are poor to understand yourself. Your interpersonal relationship becomes a problem for you to qualify for interpersonal relationship.
The intra is a problem before you even talk about the intra. I don't know, Coach, you've come here tonight and you are really unleashing a lot of wordings here. Some of them are not in my dictionary.
Yes.
I wish the men who are here from the men's, and then they will help me out because most of the time I do the questioning. I have Kerubo who tells me complicated na tunaambiwa tusikuje na makasiriko. Life has become too complicated and you're not supposed to walk in with those hard feelings. So what are you bringing on the table? We continue asking you, what are you bringing on to the table? And I have Wycliffe who tells me, tuned from Iceland. So yes, tunaingia ndani na makasiriko, coach, and because again this is from where our foundations are. Do we start addressing this issue from how we are growing up, or do we address it from how we turn out to be?
Now you need to understand that our current characteristics or behavior has a lot to do with our upbringing. Some of the great fathers of psychology do acknowledge that our environments and our learning plays a very key role towards our current behavior. Now, I usually say every child is a fruit on how he has been raised by his parent or guardian. Sometimes people tend to hide on the issues of the DNA, but there's a concept which we use, we call it the right brain therapy, which states that thoughts create feelings, and feelings lead to behavior. For example, if I call you, you're a fool, you are going to mount to nothing. Now, those words, once they get into your mind, they start making you to feel, by the way, I'm useless, I'm going to mount to nothing. Now, once those feelings come, they start making you to behave like someone who's going to mount to nothing. So thoughts create feelings, feelings lead to behavior, and then behavior turn to habits. Now you start developing habits of someone who will never get anywhere. That's why someone is saying we are getting in with a lot of anger, because anger, you realize, is not necessarily something which is heredity, but it has a lot to do with the learning. If you grow up in an environment whereby when people are angry, they cannot control their anger, you'll grow up tending to believe that's how people ought to live. So if you come with that baggage into your marriage, you realize that probably you'll meet with someone with a problem with anger management, or who cannot withstand anger, leading to problem at that particular point. So habits graduate to become character, and then finally character become a personality. So we as a person, where we are, what we are coming with in relationship has a lot to do with our upbringing. And as children, when we grow up, some of the things we learn from our parents, because we learn from our parents through observation first. What we observe from them, not what they tell us, but what we observe by how they behave, has a lot of things towards shaping our personality. Very key. Again, in our upbringing, we learn also from what we hear apart from what we observe. So, for example, you are growing up in a home where your father tells you smoking is dangerous and smoking can kill you, but you hear the information very well, but he himself smokes. Then there are two types of learning. The observation registers a way of life, and the listening also concludes that in life you don't have to be what you claim to be. Now, when it comes to human relationship, again, I've had so many people coming for counseling therapy. Like I can give one case study, Mr. Ellie. There's this young lady, great professional, who was a well-known nurse at one particular point of time. And she's this kind of lady who was so beautiful. And as young men, when you just see her, you're like, wow, I wish she could be my wife. Beautiful, nice career at the same time. But the challenge is, most of the time, you could not see men walking around her, which could be the common thing. I became curious, what's making this beautiful lady men not to come around her and just try to talk to her, even teasing her, which should be something very common. It means that, man, you are so attractive, and in the process, people have a lot of desire for you. So at one point, I got opportunity because the person came to me for therapy, and she told me that, I'll tell you the truth. There are so many men in this area, but I'm not a friend to any. I just relate with people from a professional point of view. Why am I doing that? And she told me the reason is simple. I grew up in a very abusive home. I saw my father butchering and fighting my mom for many years. And as early as I was in class 2 or grade 2, I made a covenant to myself. If this is what marriage is all about, I will never get into marriage. So that negative energy from within her has been repelling great potentials. After several therapies with her, today she's a married person, living very well, and so much developed. It took self-awareness to discover what might be some things happening around you, or which might have happened in the past, affecting your perspective today and how you relate with people today. Parenting plays a very key role on how we behave today.
Parenting plays a very big role on how we behave today. And the topic we are discussing tonight is, what are you bringing to the table? So as we try to figure out We'll be going into your conversations on what is happening in the comment section. But before we do that, let's just relate, remembering that September is the month of Suicide Awareness Month. And as ArtinHeart, we are taking this journey to just try and bring things into perspective. Let's take a break and we'll be back to answer your questions in the comment section. This is, of course, the family edition.
So happiness ni nini? Happiness ni furaha kwa vitu ndogo ndogo kama kupata avocado kubwa na mbegu ndogo. Happiness sio stress ya maziwa, sukari na majani. Happiness ni kuteka breakfast, ngoje maziwa na asali za kule Kanani. Si kama Nescafe, si pia sajani 3 in 1. Happiness ni nini? Happiness ni furaha kwa vitu ndogo ndogo kama kupata avocado kubwa na mbegu ndogo. Happiness ni kusmile kwa jam ukicheza Candy Crush, Tropical 2 5 bob gawa pia msupako kiti next moja. Hata kama si your sweetheart, anaweza kuwa your crush. Kwani happiness ni nini? Happiness ni furaha kwa vitu ndogo ndogo kama kupata avocado kubwa na mbegu ndogo. Happiness ni kupata socks zako 2 pamoja. Happiness ni kuvaa mtumba mpya, shati njumu na toja. Happiness ni ile kahawa ya 10 bob unaongeza ndimu na kunywa ukismile kisoja. Happiness ni a simple date na crush Uhuru Park mkikula ngumu na soda. Okay, hamtakaa kama zile couples za Java, but at least mtakuwa na kastarehe fulani ka Adamu na Hawa. Happiness ni nini? Happiness ni furaha kwa vitu ndogo ndogo kama kupata avocado kubwa na mbegu ndogo. Happiness sio stress na depression ukiwaza kama kwa hii maisha utatoboa.
And yes, Psychom is telling me happiness ni vitu ndogo ndogo, and everybody is walking all over trying to find happiness. We are hanging out with, of course, Coach Collins Bolo, who is very, very in his right space, because when you hear about relationships and how things work among couples and people, that is his space because it is dear to his heart. Thank you so much for coming on, Coach. Let me quickly go to the comment section and kindly, guys, engage us. Remember to use the hashtag Family Edition ArtinHeart. Inasaidia sana so that we can direct this conversation in the right direction. Okay, so remember to use that as you send in your comments. Who is in? And first, let's see. There is somebody here who says, I'm watching it live. This is Jimmy Kibungi. Karibu sana. I'm watching it live. Thank you for watching and being part of the conversation. We have Ndiku Charles. When you do say, yeye ni parasite. Because we are asking, what are you bringing to the table? Are you a parasite in this relationship, or is your relationship beneficial to the both parties? And for him, his answer is straight on. Parasite manenos. Okay, fine. We have somebody else here who tells and asks this question. Jakila is asking, and I would like for Coach to respond after this before we go to the next questions. When should we pop the question? When we start dating a few times after starting a relationship? And I'm wondering what the question is, but is it question of what are you bringing on the table? You remember, Coach, earlier on, we shared before we came on the show, and in our discussion, we saw this story of a police officer who is alleged to have been en route to go and commit some heinous crime because the girlfriend alikuwa anamkulia pesa 900,000 Kenyan shillings. So when we ask what is it between us, when you see your money is being overspent and the people are not raising a penny, when you have to even pay fare ya kwenda kwa nyumba, Coach.
Thank you very much. There's what I call caveman mentality. The caveman mentality. Caveman mentality, in the past, when men were relating to women in the context of marriage and when boys were being prepared for marriage, it was known that the role of the man was to leave the house, get into the bush, look for an animal, kill it, then bring it back home. While the woman was to stay indoors, wait for the meat to be brought, she cooks it while raising up the children from home. So the basic mandate for the man was to go and search, while the basic mandate of the woman was to wait for things to be brought for her so that she can prepare for the whole family. And you realize that from the time of industrialization, things dramatically continue to change in our society. The issue of going to the bush and poaching animals was getting over. And now men had to change their task, whereby now not only are they going to look for animals, but now they're to shift towards getting to industrialization, industries for development, and much more than that, also women have to start changing to go and look for work so that they can bring something to the table. Now, with those dynamics coming in, unfortunately, until today, it's as though it is something within our DNA, whereby our young girls, our men have made young girls to believe you are a man based on how much you earn. So the economical value and your daily returns based on your salary is what makes you to be a man. Now, because men are making women to believe this, and mothers are making their daughters to believe this, so most of the time, subconsciously, you find that when young ladies start relating to a man, or if they want to tell their mom about the intention for marriage, the first thing their mom will tell them, I don't want you to bring a poor person in this home. Your husband needs to be somebody loaded. Yet herself, up to the age where she is, probably the husband has never been loaded to the level where she's putting this kind of pressure. So young girls grow up with the expectation that for you to have a quality life, you need a man who is loaded with all these big vehicles, big things and everything. Ignorantly, not knowing that's a poverty mentality, unfortunately. It is true, all of us, we need success. All of us, we need to be rich and wealthy. That's extremely important. But it is far much better if each person asks himself or herself this question. From where I am, how have I developed myself to add value to the person whom I will be relating to? Where we are at the 21st century, we're at a point whereby each and every partner needs to see and to ask himself or herself a good question. What am I bringing? Not what am I going to get? And that's why you find this policeman is relating with a young girl. Now, because he has a cave mentality, what does he do? He demonstrates to this young lady, I'm a strong man, I'm well-able man, spending up to 900,000 Kenyan shilling, almost 1 million Kenyan shilling. And the lady, on the other hand, as a student, is squandering the money because he has this guy who seems to be pouring money for her to win her to the guy. But this young girl, as she continues to grow and getting educated and getting exposed with time, she realizes that I don't need this guy. And the guy suddenly realizes the same thing. That's why he wants to do what he wanted to do, to kill her and terminate her. You have a case of one of the senior government leader in Kenya who had to, it is alleged that the girlfriend who had been pumped a lot of money on her decided that she was going to spill the beans to her family about the scandals which they had. It led to her death. But the big challenge we have today is that most of our young girls have been made to believe that the strength of the man is the power of the pocket. I'm not saying men are not supposed to be economically strong. But the big question is this: why do we take our girls to school? Why do we want them to be career women? Is it so that they continue consumption mentality, or they become or develop production mentality? And this is very key, because I believe if you label a man to be success because of job, because he earns each and every end month, you need help. You are so much having primitive mentality. Job, it can be sacked anytime.
You call it primitive, sir, but some people are of different mind. And that's why they are asking you to really respond to the question. When do you pop out these kind of questions of ukona nini, mimi niko na hii? When? At the onset of the relationship, or after you've seen this somewhere we are headed? When exactly should the question come?
The best time to ask yourself this question is before you start a relationship. Before you start, you need to ask yourself this question. where I am right now, how have I developed myself so that I can add value to people in different levels of relationship? If the answer is nothing, then start developing yourself before you start relating with other people.
Yeah.
Because you'll find people with a lot of expectations. But other people's expectations should not put you under pressure unless first you understand what I have and what I can give. So that if someone else comes on your way with these expectations and they're not within your ability, they're not within your wiring, you can decide to turn it off as fast as possible or to move on with it, because this guy has an expectation, but in his or her expectation, what does he have which is bringing in to make our life a success, one way or the other? And now, what to be brought on the table now, we have to look at it in different perspective, perspective of success. Because sometimes we just look at it from only financial aspect point of view.
Exactly.
There's emotional aspect of it. For example, what am I bringing? How healthy am I emotionally today? So that when I connect with another person, I'm going to add more emotional health to the individual. That's very key to understand the emotional health. Emotional health entails issues like, when I wake up in the morning to evening, do I have ability to understand how I feel and what makes me to feel the way I am? Is my happiness determined by things happening around me, or it's a fruit of how I have decided I will be today, and so it is as a person? What are some of my emotional weakness? Is it issues of anger? Is it issue of unforgiveness? Is it issues of bitterness? And how do I address these kind of issues? Now you are evaluating your emotional worth. Why? Because when you start a relationship, it's all about sharing what you have, giving it out to another person. On the other hand, even as the other person will be sharing to you what he has, so that you can also gauge and analyze. Now, because our intrapersonal is a problem, we don't understand how we relate ourselves for ourselves. Our self-awareness is very low. Let me tell you something that's very key. The more self-awareness you have for yourself, the better you shall live with other people around you. The more ignorant you are to understanding who you are, understanding your needs, understanding your challenges, the more it shall become difficult. It's like someone who is living in loneliness and he says, I'm looking for a partner who will help me to deal with my loneliness. That's a baggage being taken to relationship or marriage. You need to be in a position whereby you can address what makes me feel lonely. It's one thing to feel alone, and it's another thing to feel lonely. Feeling alone is just an absence of the second, third, fourth person. But feeling lonely, it's an emotional feeling which is based on several different factors leading to such kind of feelings coming to you, running from your mind to how you feel and how you behave by the end of the day. So self-awareness is very key. It will help you start thinking about, even before you start relating, that's the point. Even before you start relating, you need to evaluate yourself. How am I emotionally healthy? Another aspect, how am I socially healthy? That's another aspect of life. How socially are you healthy? How social are you as far as your health of your social life is concerned? How will you ask, who are my friends? How do I relate with people? Do I relate with them to gain something from them, or to something or some value to them? Am I socially outgoing or not outgoing? Am I an extrovert or a more introverted? None of it is a problem. Our personalities are so much different. And those dynamics of personality is what makes life to be so sweet and so good after all is said and done. Evaluate yourself even before starting to relate with other people. Very key. Why? Because the moment you are starting to think about relationship, it means you are at the stage of life whereby what was natural, now you want to be cautious, because life is not always fair. It only gives you what you deserve.
I'm gonna hold you on that, Coach. I'm gonna hold you on that as we continue digesting that conversation. Let me quickly just go to the comment section and I shout out to a few people that are here tonight. Thank you so much, Kipro Roda, that is being here since we started the conversation. And we have Noreen, of course. And let me see, there's Kiplagat, Kipla, who tells me I'm that friend of benefits. And let's get this straight. It's not friends with benefits, but a friend of benefit. Like if I'm with you, then I'm giving something. I'm not there to profit from what you're giving or offering. Then we have, again, there's a conversation ongoing. So let me just try read through. Oh, yes. Should we pop the question? If we shouldn't, why do men take too long before they pop? I think people are turning this into dating, but I hope we're not losing the track. We are really discussing about when to ask those fundamental questions of what are you bringing onto this table. Go ahead. We have again Daktari Danny Wameyo, who tells me to tune Wameyo Daniel from Nairobi. Welcome, Wameyo. Thank you so much. And let me just find a question if there's any here. Allow me to. Yes, but except money and financial status, we can require respect and communication. Money shouldn't be the only thing to bring on that table. Interesting. And coach, I know you mentioned that earlier on. I'll just go through so that you can respond later on. Again, we go ahead and say in full agreement, money is not everything. You can have all the money, but with all the other sort of abuses, emotional, psychological, physical abuse, at this point is where I say my happiness comes first. Thank you so much, Noreen, for that comment. And of course, ArtinHeart responding to live, rather that is family edition. What do you do when you later realize that your partner has been lying to you and all they wanted was to benefit from your money? Yes, you're already foolishly in love at this stage. Wow, coach, you have quite some questions to respond to because this has been the situation for a long time. Again, I think ladies are more interested in these conversations. What about people who make fake promises and turn out to be parasites? OMG. A lot of them to answer when we come back. I hope you picked a few of them. And if you didn't, we'll go through them again. Let's take another short break and we'll be back after this.
Everyone tells you to watch out for the following signs and symptoms which might indicate that you are a mental health patient. Everyone gives you a clinical approach on how to tackle your mental health problems. But me, I'm no expert. I'm just an artistic soul with a simple life and a simple approach on how to stay sane in a world designed to drive you insane. Simple, the EP. Enjoy.
And welcome back to the Family Edition. My name is Likuyani Eli, and you're watching ArtinHeart live on Facebook and YouTube. Find us with the ArtinHeart on Facebook, the ArtinHeart official on YouTube. Our topic of discussion tonight, we are discussing part 2 of this conversation, where we are asking, what are you bringing to that table? You know, dating, and for those that have been following, we say there are those parasitic sort of relationships where you are constantly demanding and taking. And we're not just stopping at finances. We go to the emotional part of it. We have those people that actually, you meet them, they start talking, and 5 minutes later into the conversation, you are completely drained. You cannot take it anymore. These are, I don't know, we cannot even call them toxic, but probably that is the word that Coach Bolo will be using as he comes back. But remember, the month of September is Suicide Awareness Month. And as ArtinHeart, we are following through this to bring you conversations that are meaningful to you and help you look out for these kind of signs that can put you into sort of complications. So join in, be part of the conversation. And of course, allow me to bring Coach Collins, who probably has some actions and reactions to take us through the following steps. Some of the questions there is, Coach, which one in particular strikes you and you love to respond to?
Thank you very much. One, the issue of toxic relationship. People meet with them, they just drain you, they zap up all your energy because each and every statement they make, each and every comment they come up with, it is actually it's just draining you. Just draining many times. For some, it's not, they're not doing it intentionally. They're just expressing their day-to-day reality, their day-to-day occurrences. And in them verbalizing it, feeling maybe they need someone to understand them, someone who can feel them. On the other side, it actually drains the other people very much. When such kind of things happens, I think sometimes it's good to refer such kind of people to a therapist or to help them to understand what exactly is happening or what's coming on them. Like I can remember some years back, I had a friend, and every time we were talking, was just mentioning the devil, and the devil did blah blah blah, and the devil said blah, and then asked him, "Excuse me, sir. It seems you're talking so much about the devil until you're draining me. Can you change your story and talk about God or something else?" And that's the time it came to sense. Am I so much talking about the devil? Yeah. Every statement, the devil, the devil. Some, oh, you see some men, some women, all women are prostitutes. You cannot just trust a woman. It drains. It is not true. There are so many noble, good women who can add value to people. Many of them, so many good men.
Sorry, Coach,
Actually,
we're
who can
really
add value
struggling to
to
get you,
people's
Coach.
life.
If you can hear me, Coach, we are really struggling to get you. I believe you have to look into your connection status and get back because you are really talking of important matters. I'll allow you to fix that. Meanwhile, what's about people who make fake promises and turn out to be parasites? What is your thoughts if you're watching us, and how would you handle such a situation? Because at the end of the day, people are who they are. People will take advantage. We've heard of several cases and stories whereby, uh, somebody tells you, we are in agreement and this is what we are going to do as a team. And then you put in everything you have to put in, and your energy, your time, your finances, and your emotional attachment to them. And then boom, just like that, they bamuse on you. The other day, I was having a discussion with a friend, and they told me that they were in a relationship that is a business relationship, and overnight their friends just ends everything without prior notice, without mentioning what could have caused the issue, without necessarily giving them audience to understand where they're coming from. And this could end up actually looking like parasitic, that they needed you until they fixed what they wanted fixed. So then again, there's very little you can do about it. The only thing is, take care of your feelings and yourself. And of course, I hope you are enjoying the conversation tonight. Join us as with the hashtag ArtinHeart Family Edition. I don't know if Coach Bolo is ready to join me again. Coach Bolo, let's see how it goes.
Okay,
Can you
okay.
get
Am
me?
I clear now?
That's
Yes, I can
perfect.
hear
That's
you very well.
perfect. We can
Very
work with
well.
that.
Very well. Yes.
So
Okay,
the
let me
devil.
proceed. Yeah, this guy was just talking about the devil, and I told him, "Excuse me, sir, you are talking too much about the devil. You're just training me. Are you aware?" And then I realized the guy was not aware that in his conversation, he thought like when he talks about the devil so much, it'll be seen like to be very spiritual. I told him, my brother, you better change your conversation because talk more about yourself or talk more about God or talk more about life. I don't have time to hear about the devil and what the devil is doing all the time. So it drains. Some people meet with them, some men, they're talking so negatively about women, how you can never trust a woman. Women are so bad. All women are prostitutes, blah, blah, blah. Like I had one man at one point of time speaking confidently about such kind of statement among a group of young people. I told him, "Excuse me, sir, uh, if that's your worldview about women, you better keep it to yourself than actually intoxicating other men about your negative experience about life." So the same people talk about men negatively. You see, our personal predicament and experience, we should not declare it to be a universal thing as far as life is concerned, as much as it can be something within our own world. I'll give an example. I was once invited to speak to a group of women who had been divorced and some had separated, and few were widows. And I was so shocked. During the therapy with this group, I was doing a group therapy. Then someone talking about the experiences, how their husband butchered them, how the husbands were beating them. Another was telling us how the husband had put knives and pangas in every corner of the house. So when you offend him, the closest tool next to him is what will hit you with it. Another one told us a story about how the husband removed, because in coast, Mombasa, because it's hot, sometimes women just put on lasso and inside they don't have anything because of the climate. Then the husband decided to remove the lasso, and all the kids saw the mom totally nude after they fought in the bedroom. And we went through the therapy and everything. After the function was over, I asked them one simple question. If today we had young ladies who are not married, what would you advise them based on your experiences? This is what shocked me. The first one stood up and said, it is better to live with an abusive man than to live without a man and people mocking you everywhere. And I was like, what do you mean? Then another one stood up again and said, yeah. So they started clapping. I said, yes, it is true. It is more difficult to live as a single woman than to live with an abusive man. Then I told them, excuse me, can you explain what you're talking about? And this is what amazed me. They said, we have finally realized that because our men were not mentally ill, when they started a relationship with us, it was very good and we used to understand each other. What has changed today is this. We have understood that we also had a role which we played towards making our men to behave the way they behaved. If we could have handled our situations well with the knowledge we have today, we could be in our marriages and living very well. The expectations they had and how they're responding to life led to a lot of trouble during that particular time. In the same way today, when people get into relationship, that's why you find people come with a lot of expectation. What will I get from this man? How much can he give me every day to prove that he loves me? What can he buy for me as an evidence that he loves me? Now, when all these kind of questions are coming, which are good questions, but sometimes not appropriate, depending on the kind of relationship you have, it might lead to make you develop dependence syndrome or mentality than asking yourself this pattern question. Now that I want to start a relationship, what am I going to bring into this relationship so that we can make our life better? So that people will say, behind every great man, there's a great woman, because this woman has brought something to add to this man himself. The same thing to the men. What am I going to do to add value to this woman? Now, Lipiano, when I got married to my wife, by then she just had an undergraduate degree. And I committed myself to make sure that I'm going to add value to her more than what her father did to her. So I took her to do a first master's degree, which she cleared, and now she's clearing a second master's degree while starting a PhD. And when I was doing my master's somewhere later, I had to stop to let her do it. Why? Because I believe the strength of my wife will determine the strength which I'm going to have for success in each and everything which I do. So it's all about what am I going to do? And so one day she surprised me. This is what she did. She bought a car and she gave it to me. And she said, you are a good man. You have taken care of me very well. So, Akaki, from today, I've bought for you this car, and this car belongs to you. And I'm driving a car which my wife has added, gave it to me so that I can use it as I move in different places, doing talks, motivating people, and doing assessments to people. We are adding one to the other. Today, she's far much better than where her parents did. It has to be very intentional. Start thinking about it even before starting a relationship.
Something interesting that you mentioned about adding value, and women and men in equal measures deny themselves some of their personal ambitions in life in order to pursue marriage and relationship and whatsoever you want to call it tonight. My question will be, is it really okay to forego your personal ambitions once you get into that relationship, completely shelve them for the sake of the other? Or when do you compromise these ambitions?
One great scholar said, it's in the grave where we have writers who never wrote books, singers who never sang a song, doctors who never treated anybody in the hospital because what they're wired for, their gift and talent died and were never used. And marriage should be a platform whereby these abilities we have become much better than being jeopardized. Now, sometimes it's unfortunate that especially women are the victims of the same. They have very big dreams. They grow up building up their dreams. Then, in the name of marriage, their dreams die at the expense of marriage and the relationship with their husband. Now, that's what I'm saying. So long as your self-awareness is down, you will kill your best, which would have helped that marriage to move on. So, when marriage becomes a platform whereby it makes you as a man or as a woman to kill your dream, for the sake of the person whom you are going to intend to marry, then that's a bad foundation as far as your success and future is concerned. Because somewhere in line, you realize that, for example, if you depended on your husband because he has a job, he's working on a good company, then he gets terminated, then that one becomes a big challenge. Like recently, I had a case which was brought to me, a young lady who came from a very poor family, and the mother did her best to make sure this daughter of her will become the best she could be. She finally graduated with a diploma in nursing from KMTC. She got a very good job in a good hospital with good payment from a private hospital. Then comes this man who starts relating to her and tells her that according to our religion, because I'm going to marry you, you're not supposed to work. And the guy does not even earn a half of what the wife earns. And the family members got mad. If this is the extent we're going to take our daughter, we better bring her back home and help a mom who is dying poor for educating her. Or we agree, let all our salary go to mom and you stay with her. It brought crisis. It's some desperation in relationship can lead to all these factors. And two, when men are ignorant about what they ought to bring to their wives, and their wives are ignorant about what they ought to give for their men, it's a challenge. And there are two simple things, my brother. A woman of today and a man of today, there are two things which they need to understand. Men ought to understand the best thing which you need to give to your woman is presence. If you give your wife all the cars, all the money, all the buildings, but you're not available for her, she'll start feeling a widow when you're still alive. What women of our today, what they need is presence, because they also earn, and sometimes they can earn much more than their husbands. And it's very key to understand the dispensation in which we are living today. Give a woman presence, and you'll get the best from her. And what men need today, it is simple. It's not just having the game of sex in the house. What a man needs today is respect. Respect. That's why today you can find a man with a very beautiful woman, but yet dogging with the most illiterate girl in the village, or a house help, or such kind of people. Because what he gets back from this lady is respect. So if women of today will work to have the best ability to demonstrate respect to their men, and men will work to create the best environment of presence to their women, all the rest will be done. All the rest will be done, my brother.
Thank you so much, Coach. We are having quite an informative session here, and people are throwing jabs at each other in the comment section. Let me just get there and find out why. We have Wycliffe, and this coach, it's their opinion, and they're allowed to that, says women who are not submissive to men are the one who talk shit about their men. Exact words. We'll leave that to digestion.
Yes.
You just talked about respect here, and why at the end of the day some people will go to the village with people that other people will consider not fit enough for you. And then there was somebody who asked them, elaborate more please, I would love to understand your point. So I hope he went ahead and and elaborated the same, and says the only women to add value to like education is my mom or sister. Oh no, you can never marry your mother, but it's all right. Let's find out. A couple goes right here, adding value to each other. Thank you so much. We appreciate here. Yes, we are really having a connection malfunction happening down here, Shaz, and we understand you. We hope next time we are able to fix that. But for tonight, bear with us. We will try and make it good for you next session. So thank you. We appreciate your comment and reaction to the same. Coach, we're gonna take a very quick break.
Yes.
I want you to listen in and tell me what you think about this information. Remember, you can always follow our conversation every single Saturday here on the Family Edition. From now, I'll be bringing you the edition alongside Coach Collins Bolo. So tune in to learn more when we talk about family matters. Let's take a quick break and see who was in the against all odds and what he had to say and what connection it has to what discuss on. Discuss on. No. Discussion? No. Take a look. Do you feel it's wrong for your partner to actually go mute on you for
For
extended
me,
number of hours?
I feel, well, if it's a few hours, that's fine. Because, there are those people that really need to sit back, think about the issue, and then now they're ready to talk about it. That is totally agreed. Or even if it's a day, that's fine. But where it goes to a week, Ellie, a week, a month, you have a family, you have things to talk about. Clearly, now it starts now affecting your other partner. Because for me, up to date, I think I have phobia for Cold War because of what I went through.
Phobia for Cold War, and the word there was discussion. And tonight it went on unpaid leave. But I saw Coach laughing out loud because sometimes things don't just work out. And never, however, how many number of times you want to take the take in a Qatar. Coach Collins, silence treatment, and you are in a relationship and you expect things to work out. How do you deal with this?
Silence is communication. That's key. One need to understand. When someone decides to be silent, is communicating. But some people are not aware in their silence they are communicating. Now, in every relationship, it's extremely paramount for people to communicate. Whether it's a relationship towards marriage, whether it's a relationship within marriage, whether it's business relationship, and all other kind of partnership which people have in one way or the other. And the moment one party decides to be silent, then most of the time it will create issues on the other party. Now, why is it key? There are two aspects of it. One, it is gender related issue, and one is just issue to do with communication skills and techniques which one might have. Now, you can get two couples staying together, even apart from this issue of people having distance relationship. You can find a husband and a wife, they're living in the same house, living the same place. Maybe before when they're courting, there's more communication because men are born hunters. And during the time of hunting, you communicate as much as possible to get your prey. And once the prey is caught and it's in your docket and your domain, then which kind of other skills of communication do you have to keep the momentum going? Now, some men are smart. They decide to become good listeners so they can give their women moment to speak the 9,000 words in a day while they speak the few they can have. And they have the secret. The more I give opportunity for my wife to speak and she disseminates out her joy and her frustration, the more we are going to bond together. Now, where the catch comes in, sometime you might be with your man and you are a woman and your man is silent most of the time. And you are trying to force him to talk so that he can express himself and you can help him out at that particular point. Now, men don't need to talk to help themselves out. That's a gender issue. In fact, we sort out our problem in silence than in talking. And when we decide to talk, we want to fix problem. That's a gender issue. However, if people are in distance relationship and one party decides not to communicate, then the next question is, where's the communication going to? Might it be possible somebody else or some other activities have taken over the conversation? Or might it be possible during the conversation in a distance relationship there have been quarrels and the man or the woman is avoiding quarrels because once conversation will start, there's going to be quarrels which are going to come up. So it's extremely paramount for ask himself or herself, we have been communicating well. What might have happened to lead my partner to be silent? Was our last conversation issues of quarrels and argument? If it was and I won the quarrel, then does it help now that there's silence in the whole issue at large? Very, very key. If there's no quarrel, you are relating very well, and suddenly there's a silence, then is it important for you to inquire and to know what might be happening on the other side leading to silence? Might it be possible, for example, if your wife is doing studies or your husband also engaged on some task whereby the time difference is so huge, maybe one is in Kenya, one is in another country, and the best time when you can talk is when one partner is extremely exhausted and the communication cannot be as usual. Then how can you create a moment and a time which is convenient so that you can have quality time to communicate with each other? So communication is one key thing which is needed at every level of our relationship. Once there's a silence, it's important to know what might have contributed to the silence.
Well, a lot of things can contribute to silence, of course, Coach, and you mentioned quite a handful of them. As we bring this to conclusion, give me very quick, at your fingertips, what would you recommend when one has to walk into a relationship? And put finance aside, because everybody now knows that. What are other things that we need? At your, like take away home, this is a must-have when you walk into a relationship.
When you walk into a relationship, there are several key areas you need to develop yourself and to have goals towards development. One, your intelligence level. Build up your intelligence level as an individual, because your intelligence will play a very key role in your relationship. Two, build up your social health. Make sure that you are healthy as possible as far as your social interaction is concerned. First, start with understanding yourself, then you'll be able to understand other people. Three, make sure as far as your physical health up to date with it. How healthy are you physically, even to get into a relationship? Sometimes we overlook these issues, but they play a very, very key role, even towards preparation towards our marriage. Your health is very key. You might get a man or a woman who is not pleased by how you are because you look so shabby, so dirty, so careless, and that one is enough. You smell to lose even a very potential relationship because of such kind of matters. Other issues, consider your emotional health before you start a relationship. How healthy am I emotionally so that I can be able to add value to other people around me? And much more apart from that, consider your spiritual relationship. How spiritual am I? How connected am I to God that I may reflect Him in my relationship? All these key things are very important before you think to start a relationship, and the nature of a relationship which is long term, especially if you're targeting for marriage. Marriage is good, marriage has challenges, and challenges in marriage bring the beauty of a relationship. I'll finish by saying this. My teacher on marriage and relationship defined marriage this way. Marriage is a deliberate step to take a risk to live with a stranger with hope of a good future. I will repeat. Marriage is a deliberate step to take a risk to live with a stranger with hope of a good future. Tafakari ya maisha. Back to you, Likuyani.
Awesome, Coach. What a way to bring down the curtains. I must say, hiyo ni tafakari ya maisha. So as you think of that stranger that you have in mind, you have to ask yourself those questions, and you have to answer some of those questions. What are you bringing on the table or to the table, and what are they bringing to that particular table? Where do you meet, and who says what, and who listens to who? Having said that, I must say it has been great having this discussion. Remember, you can follow this conversation every single Saturday right here on the Arts in Heart, and the edition is the family edition, brought to you by yours truly, Likuyani Eli, and of course the one and only Coach Collins Bolo. Till next time, have a great weekend, and remember, it takes two to tango. Have a great night. God bless you.